when they discovered that there was appropriate soil in Ohio for making glass, companies started popping up because shipping glass to Ohio overland in the 1800s was not only a long journey, but really dangerous for the glass. When we handle glass, we actually don't have to wear gloves for it. We do for other pieces. And the reason is because glass isn't porous, which means it can't absorb the oils from our hands, and that's what we're concerned about causing damage to historic objects. And so we opt instead not to wear gloves, and that's standard in all museums. So what's really interesting about this flask is that it's supposed to say A. Jackson on it in capital letters, but if you look really closely at it, you'll see there's another name underneath, and it's actually A. Jackson backwards. And what happened was whoever carved the wooden mold to make this flask originally carved A. Jackson incorrectly, which means it would have read A. Jackson in the mold, so when they blew glass into it, it would have appeared in the reverse, so it would have appeared backwards. And rather than throwing away the wood mold, which, you know, for a piece this size, it would just be a block of wood about that big, instead of throwing it away, they just recarved the name correctly, so in the reverse on the mold, right over the mistake. And so the mistakes came out on the bottles, and they made bottles from that same mold for years. They didn't care enough to throw away that mold, even though it had this mistake on it. And so I think it speaks to how valuable the resources were to the company, that they wouldn't just toss it out and start over again, even though that original mistake is still visible on the piece. So this is the bottom. And so this circular mark here is the pontil mark, and that's where the pontil attached to the molten glass, and the glass blower would blow through it and blow air into the piece to shape it, and then when the piece was done, they'd just break the pontil off. And they didn't even really bother to clean up that mark. You can see that the bottom is very rough looking. So what they did instead is they made the bottom concave, so when you set it on a surface, the mark wouldn't scratch the surface. Rather than trying to polish the mark, they changed the shape of the bottle.